Hiccup was one decision away from becoming Berk's worst nightmare. The shocking truth behind his dark potential is finally revealed. His ruthless tactics enslaved dragons, doomed his village, and destroyed everything he loved. Stick around. The final revelation will change how you see Hiccup forever. Miss this, and you'll never view how to train your dragon the same way again. The arrow still flies. The scream of a night fury still rips the clouds. And Hiccup, lonely, brilliant, afraid, still follows the trail into the forest. But here, in this world, when Hiccup finds Toothless tangled and grounded, his weapon doesn't tremble from guilt. It halts because a sharper idea strikes. And that idea is control. For the first time, Hiccup isn't a mistake. He's a master. He builds the tail fin, but it's no gift. It's a shackle, one that only he can operate. The Night Fury, once proud and free, becomes a chained weapon, a predator flown by its captor. With Toothless as his puppet, Hiccup returns to dragon training, not as a meek thinker, but as a calculating war tactician. He conquers every dragon he faces, not with kindness, but with gas, gadgets, and cold efficiency. The Red Death still falls, but not through heart and harmony. It dies under a hailstorm of cruelty and force. Berk hails its new hero. Dragons weep silently behind steel pens. But control is fragile. When Drago's Bewilderbeast calls, the enslaved dragons answer. There is no bond to resist with, no trust, no love, and Toothless, once the greatest of his kind, obeys the Alpha's howl. His soul was never healed, only shackled, and now that chain snaps. Folka leaves, but when she meets the son she once cradled, she sees a stranger, hard-eyed, proud, and hollow. Her sanctuary rejects him, and so does Toothless silently, through a gaze void of friendship. Drago wins. Berk burns. Stoic's final memory is not of saving his son, but watching that son's empire of cruelty collapse beneath its own weight. Timeline 2. The Dragons Revolt. The story begins the same. Hiccup breaks Toothless, and Toothless becomes his. But this version ends with a roar. Toothless, enslaved by Hiccup, then hijacked by the Alpha, reaches a breaking point. Beneath the layers of submission, the Night Fury still remembers what freedom felt like. The spark that once dodged 100 Viking nets reignites. And he snaps. Toothless fights back. Not for Hiccup, not for Berk, but for every wing ever clipped, every scale ever scarred. He slays the Bewilderbeast with a thunderous blast, not out of love, but rebellion. Now he is Alpha, but not a servant's Alpha, a liberator's. Hiccup realizes too late. The dragons he once controlled now follow a leader who sees him as the first jailer. Berk's dragon program spirals into rebellion. Riots, escapes, defiance. When Grimmel the Grizzly strikes, he exploits Toothless' one weakness. The dragons he now protects. Using the Light Fury as bait, Grimmel traps the Alpha and delivers the fatal blow. The last Night Fury falls. Not in battle, but betrayal. Berk's dragons retaliate with fury. Grimmel dies, but so do many. Hiccup, kneeling before the ashes, no longer sees himself as a leader. Only a mistake. He returns the dragons to the hidden world, but not out of hope. Out of surrender. Humanity, he concludes, was never worthy of them. And he was the proof. Timeline 3, the Butcher of Beasts. This is the timeline that doesn't flinch, where Hiccup stares into the eyes of a fallen Toothless and finishes the job. A clean pierced. One death. 100 consequences. He returns to Berk with the Night Fury's head. He's hailed a hero, praised by Stoic, adored by Astrid. But inside, something withers. Instead of forging peace, Hiccup engineers death. His designs no longer assist dragons, they dissect them. He pioneers weapons of precision, toxins tailored to scale patterns, and traps impossible to evade. The final test, once a dance between minds, becomes a staged execution. The monstrous nightmare never stood a chance. Without trained dragons, the Red Death remains hidden until Hiccup finds it. And like everything else, he turns it into a problem to solve. Berk loses many warriors, but Hiccup unalived the queen. But power has its predators. When Drago arrives, his army of dragons smothers Berk's defenses. Hiccup's weapons can't match the will of bonded beasts. Stoic dies trying to hold the line. And Hiccup, grounded, alone, and surrounded by creatures he never tried to understand. He never meets Folka, never learns of her sanctuary. To him, she's just another ghost taken by dragons. And by the time Grimmel appears, they are equals. Two visionaries of extinction. They meet without hatred, only mutual recognition. Together, They finalize the war they both started. Dragons become shadows in myth, and Hiccup becomes legend, not for peace, not for progress, but for obliteration. And yet, as he looks across a world silent of wings, a world that once shimmered with magic and fire, Hiccup finally realizes. He was never victorious. He was just the last mistake standing. So, which dark path of Hiccup shook you the most? Was it the tyrant who ruled through chains, the revolt that turned Toothless into a liberator, or the butcher who ended dragons forever? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's unravel this darker Viking tale together. And don't forget to subscribe for more twisted what-if journeys.